On the Creations is proud to present Ring Ring Hello.
All right. Hi, hello everyone, and welcome to Ring Ring Hello Entrepreneur Podcast. Me, myself, and I, Miss Rebekah. Today we have Angela Cronan, a portrait artist with over 100 portraits worldwide. Angela, thank you for being here with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Could you tell us a little bit about who you are and where you grew up and your journey of the beginning of becoming a portrait artist?
So I grew up in Southern California. I'm an only child, and my mom used to work in a printing press warehouse where she used huge rolls of paper bigger than your house and printed a bunch of stuff off on these big, loud, you could smell the ink, and there was all kinds of different sizes and colors, and then there was a lot of what was called waste. And so there were stacks and stacks of paper that would have just gotten thrown away. Well, my mom would bring it to me, and sometimes I would go to the print shop and see these big rolls of paper and smell the ink and hear the sounds of everything being mass reproduced, whether it was a brochure or a magazine or labels from your food. And she would give me pencils, she would give me crayons, I'd have markers, and I'd have them in those little stands, and I'd put them around me like a little fortress. And there would be all these different formats of paper with maybe something on the back. Maybe it was really long and narrow, or maybe it was a square. Sometimes they were small, sometimes they were big. Sometimes I would draw around whatever was on the opposite side, and it just kind of went from there. And I found that it was a very creative way to start learning the tools. But then as I grew up and I spent more time at home with that paper in the little sunroom, in the little patio at home, I kind of went more towards humans. And with the humans, I would draw little girls, little boys, men, women, and I kind of steered away from landscapes and man-made objects. And it kind of just kept focusing more and more. And I found that the human face is so unique. And I just kept going towards that vision. And as people were like, how do you do that? That's so hard. But I think us as humans, we are very attracted to faces and the windows of the soul, with the eyes. And I think it all just kind of went from there.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love your reflection of our natural desire to connect to people's faces. People often overlook at that, I think, in the fact that you have that natural creative desire to, or not desire, but appreciation for the world around you. You know what I mean? Like, and specifically for people, would you say that your appreciation of people is something that, because the type of portraits that you make, you often make portraits for people as gifts. Like you're more of a giver in that sense of creative element rather than you're looking to make money off of it.
Yeah, I know that there's people that will draw like famous people and then try to go and sell those types of things, but I'm more like a custom faces type situation. Like, is there somebody that you love from the past and maybe you're expecting and you want to have them joined together in a custom photo where, great grandma's holding your baby, and we can do that. Or maybe you've lost a loved one, like lost a baby, and you want me to draw it and I can make it look, very heavenly and, something nice for you to hang up on your wall. But I don't like to do anything like mass production. I like to do like a custom picture and no two are the same. And then they can give it to their loved one, or they can buy it and put it on their mantle. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it answers the question. The exploration and opportunity of having that unique type of gift, which is art, and the type of art that you give to the world and to those who you've crossed paths with, is very unique. I don't want to say that it's solely grief oriented, but it's like, for those who don't know you on a personal level, you know, I'm hoping that through the conversation people will be able to see the depth of care that goes into what you make, and
Thanks.
the topic that you draw and the subjects that you create, and not only your skill, like you are, of course, not of course, but you are a very skilled artist. But
Thank you.
more than that, you're very welcome. More than that, it's the emotional depth that comes from what you choose to do, you know?
Yeah, I also get approached by different people for different reasons as well. A fun one that I had was a woman who just had her grandson. And so she found a baby picture of herself and her son and her grandson. And they're all like in the same exact pose and the side of their face and the same expression. And I'm able to mat and frame my own stuff. So I was able to do all three faces in a round oval side by side. And I imagine that was probably one of her most treasured items. But
Yeah.
I do portraits of the living and the dead. It just depends on who approaches me and for what reason that they want. And I try to make it look like they're right there.
Yeah. And you do, and that's the thing, you take that care to make it as accurate in representation as possible. All of your work is very beautiful in a sense of it's like a photo. Like, it's very loving, like a family photo would be.
Yeah. And I like to give everything that I do already matted and framed, so the customer doesn't have to worry about taking that and now they have to go to a store and and hand it off to somebody and have an unknown handling and maybe spending a lot more money. And I would like to verbalize that my prices have never increased since I started, 100 years ago, but because that's not really the point of it. Like, the point of it is just to scatter my art around the world.
And to create these wonderful custom pieces.
Yeah.
Where did you start your journey of portrait art specifically? Because you've been an artist your entire life.
So I started drawing during my childhood. I was drawing stuff. Even if I was at the airport waiting in line, I would have or not waiting in line, but waiting to board my airplane or whatever. I would draw people around the airport that were just sitting there waiting. And sometimes I would give it to them. And this is, of course, before smartphones and everything, but I would take pictures of it. But then I joined the Marine Corps when I was 17, and I was assigned as a graphic artist. They called it combat artist, but we lovingly like to call it cartoon platoon or combat Crayola. So we had lots of loving names for our job description. And so I started off as a graphic artist, which also branched off into other jobs like photography and videography. But I soon was assigned to be an art instructor at Fort Meade, Maryland, to teach all the branches of service, because all the branches of service in the military have that job description. And I would teach different things to include portrait art, but also color theory and linear perspective, nonlinear perspective, design, and then computer stuff like interactive software, web page design. But I very much enjoyed the first part of the course because the course was divided into threes, and the first one was fine art, and that's where I used to sit and draw, and I would let my students sit over me and watch me draw, and I could draw either horizontally or vertically on an easel. And can I share something that's not even a question right now?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So my goal way back when, before webcams, was to be able to record myself drawing and have people be able to watch me like around the world real time, and I can talk to them and answer their questions.
You should do that, Angela.
Yeah, I literally have had that dream since.
Girl, you could do that. You could literally do that. You could do that literally today. You could start doing that.
So this is when I got stationed on the East Coast, because I was in the West Coast the whole time, and then I got transferred over in 99. So this dream has been there since 99, and
it's been in the works.
Yeah, I would love to do that, and then it can be recorded and people can go back. And I've seen people on Instagram do like those really fast videos where it's like a time lapse, but
yeah, it takes a long time.
Yeah, and that's fine, but I wanted like the interactive aspect where people are like, "Oh my gosh, how did you do that?" Or
you could do a Twitch stream. That's what I'm actually teaser for everybody listening. That's something I'm going to start doing it next year, hopefully in February, live streaming on Twitch, like making art. Only I'm going to do graphic design stuff, but you could, and it's really easy. I could show you how to do it. You could make one and do it every now, whenever you want. And
I would like tell people, when I'm doing it so they can log on or whatever. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
And you're a certified teacher previously, so people could, you can target an actual audience of, hey, look, she's qualified to teach. Not only can you teach, you have the skills.
So speaking of teaching, if I can make another diversion, because this is clearly not a linear interview for me. I'm really excited. This is really exciting, by the way. So I became an art teacher, and I taught all the branches of service. And every time they were like, I can't draw this or I can't do that, I would get down on the floor and start doing push-ups. And they would say, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm a horrible art teacher because you said I can't, instead of saying I'm not yet able to. And so the other students would laugh and join in with me and do push-ups. And then pretty soon my art students, who are literally in army uniforms, are like, hey, I'm not yet able to draw this. Can you help me? And that's when I knew. And then every graduation, we would all get down in our dress blues on the floor and do push-ups together one last time as motivation.
Yes, I love that.
And then I wanted to kind of transition into today's world for Angela, which is I became a nurse, and I feel like my portrait art has helped a lot with that, because as you know, when you draw a picture of someone, you kind of scrutinize it. You're like, does it look like them, or does it kind of not look like them? And you kind of tend to maybe see something or pick it apart. And it's kind of the same in nursing. You walk into a room and you're like, how are you? And they're like, oh, I'm fine. But then you look at their face and maybe they're, scowling, or maybe they are frowning. And you're like, well, I hear the words that you're saying, but your face is saying something different. You want to tell me about that? So I feel like everybody is already an artist. Everybody is already a portrait artist, because in your relationships with people that you love and the general public, you're already reading faces so much. And so when I do my job as a nurse, a lot of it is face reading. Even if you have someone who's nonverbal, somebody who has never spoken a word in their life, you can tell by their, you could tell. So everybody that's listening is literally a portrait artist. They just, it's like we're all reading each other, and we're nurturing each other, and There's people that are nonverbal autistic. There's people with cerebral palsy. There's people who used to be, with it, and maybe now they have an accent. You could tell if they're in pain or if they're trying to communicate or something. So I could draw a picture and they'd be like, oh, well, they look like they're really not happy. Or, gosh, this one, I really appreciate you drawing me, like, but I kind of look like my dad or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could just see that. But I feel like my job as a nurse has really helped. And now I'm also a teacher. I teach nursing students at different colleges at my hospital. And I always teach them, to sit down and look at them eye level and get to know them and look at them. And I know there's certain cultures where you're not supposed to look at people in the eye too long because it's threatening or it's forbidden, but get to know them and read their face. And when you meet somebody, look at them in the eye and the things that they tell me. And it's been a really great journey, kind of transitioning as I'm not doing as much art, but I'm doing more nursing and teaching nursing.
Interacting and connecting with people in different ways.
Absolutely.
That's number one, it's what we all do, period. Number two, for you, what you do through your, like I said earlier, gift, what you give as a gift to the world, your gift is also through nursing. Like, you provide leadership, not only as a woman in a professional field of healthcare, but also as a mother and as an artist, and through your portrait work and your note as a person with your own introspective capacity to be able to reflect and recognize that we are all reading one another all the time. It doesn't, in a sense, that it matters to you, but it doesn't matter to the world, period, because it shouldn't, in a sense of who we are. We're always connecting with people. You recognize it as someone who takes care of people. You are so, like, that is such a gift, period, because people don't want to do that. People don't want to give people the gift of a moment anymore. I see it all the time on social media, and it's insane to me because older people are so much more willing to take a moment and really spend time with you, while on social media there's this pressure to, like you said earlier, fast forwarding through, like, the the time lapse videos of the artists. That's what I see all the time. It's like people just making, and it's people who are content creators as a profession, and we're trying to fast forward through experiences. We're trying to oversaturate ourselves instead of taking a moment to really be with a person. And what you provide to the community and to your community too, specifically, like in healthcare, people talk a lot of negative about people who work in healthcare, but it's literally one of the most challenging jobs to maintain.
Absolutely. And as a side note, I was the only female Marine instructor in the whole schoolhouse. So on Fridays,
she has experienced some stuff.
Yeah, on Fridays, we would all have to dress up in our dress uniform. And even just the female Marine Friday uniform was much different than the males. And so it would be like I was sticking out like a sore thumb. But I mean, I made it fun and funny. Yeah.
You were going to keep up with people and put forth your effort. No matter what, you were a part of the team. Even if you're different in some way, you deserve to be respected and recognized.
It was really fun. It was really fun being at the schoolhouse, though, especially as the only female Marine instructor there. And then, having that leadership. And then we were able to play music in the classroom and everything. And there was a bunch of male instructors with me, and we would all put them in place, and if they were sleeping during their PowerPoint or whatever, I'd have everybody stand up and I'd turn on all the lights and have everybody spin around and do arm exercises and stuff. And I was funny, but don't cross me.
That discipline, would you say that you learned a sense of self-discipline through the military, or did you learn that through your early upbringing in life?
I don't know. I mean, growing up, I was, like I said, I'm an only child, and my mom was a single mom. So I would walk home from school and lock the door and call her and tell her I was home, and she would give me a list of chores to do by the time she got home. And then when she got home, it was expected my chores were done, and then she would cook dinner, and then I can go outside and play or whatever. So that was always the thing, like you walk home and you go straight home. You don't divert anywhere. And that was like a safety issue. But then I always knew I wanted to join the Marines at 17, and they're very much like attention to detail and everything. So I don't know. I feel like we all have some kind of system as a kid, like what was tolerated and what wasn't, but the Marine Corps was extremely like OCD about, your marching and your facing and your drill movements and your uniform and your hair, and everybody's checking each other all the time.
So naturally, it was something that suited you as a person.
Oh yeah, I knew I was going to be a Marine a long time before I joined.
That's really cool.
So my mom used to take me to the El Toro Air Show as a kid, as a baby in a stroller. And I would see all of the airplanes and helicopters in the air show and all the loud noise and everything flying in the air. And I was like, I'm going to join the Marines. And I told my mom I'm going to join the Marines. And she was like, okay, but you have to talk to all the different branches first. And I did, but I still was going to join the Marine Corps.
And you did, and you made it happen.
Yeah.
And did you know, or when did you start to really discover implementing the connection between art and the Marine Corps for yourself? Like when did you connect the I'm an artist as you experience who you are as Angela? Like, does that make sense?
Well, they said, like, when I went in, they said there is a job option for you to be an artist in the Marine Corps, because I was looking at different jobs. And
Wait,
so
they told you about it?
Well, I told them all the things that I was good at, and they were like, well, yeah, there is a job for that, but it doesn't open until October. And I was hoping that I could have left like right after high school, but I left in October before my 18th birthday. So
oh, wow.
I was able to go, and they only allow 2 Marines per class, and all the rest of the class is Army and Air Force for the most part. And at that time, the class was in Lowry Air Force Base in Aurora, Colorado. And it was a 3-month course. It was awesome. It was so fun. It seems like the main theme with everywhere is everybody had a radio playing music, which I love. I mean, who doesn't love music?
Yeah, the music was always a part of the environment.
Yes.
That is really cool.
Mm-hmm. One of the most memorable pieces from the Marine Corps that I have is there was a gentleman who was overseas, and he was in the war, and it was in April of 2004, and he passed away taking off his helmet and putting it over a grenade and then jumping over it with his body and saving a bunch of people, but he passed. But he did make it back over to Bethesda, and I was able to escort him home after they had removed him off of life support. So there's a bunch of like civilian volunteers who made sure to make his uniform, this dress blue uniform, the right size, and make sure all of his medals were good. And they handed it to me, and then I had my dress blues in another garment bag, so they were like in the same hand. And then I went to the funeral home and handed them his garment bag, And then I walked into another room and got dressed while he got dressed. And then I did his final inspection with his uniform. And then we went into the funeral home van, and they put his flag draped coffin in the van. And I sat up front with the driver, who was a former Marine. And the whole time we were driving, I turned my body to like towards the driver, and I had this little green government issue notebook. It wasn't an art pad, and I had a ballpoint pen, and I drew his flag draped coffin inside of the van. And it took me the whole time. We drove from Bethesda to a place called Scioto, New York, which is a very small town. And as we were getting into the small town, you could see the mom and pop shops have signs that say "Welcome home, Jason."
Oh.
And he ended up winning. He ended up earning the Purple Heart and the Medal of Honor eventually. And he's the only Medal of Honor during that time recipient. And his face is up at the Marine Museum. And Allie went there yesterday and saw it. But there's a float named after him. It's called the USS Jason Dunham.
That's
And
incredible.
I got to meet his family and everything. And so I think I've posted it on Facebook, but it's just literally a ballpoint pen drawing. And I colorized it a little bit on the computer, but I haven't really done too much else with it. But I would say it probably took me a couple hours. We were driving like bumpy roads and back roads and everything. So it wasn't the easiest, but that's probably my most like cherished, memorable drawing in the Marine Corps that
I would say that, especially with today being Veterans Day on this recording, but this episode coming out on December 15th, taking a moment to appreciate our veterans here in the United States by also recognizing the importance and presence of art in the world and ourselves in our community. Angela, could you share some context on who has helped you stay inspired throughout life, and more so with your further creation as you've shared the, some could say, unique aspects of your life, but with growing up as an only child, that's definitely, I feel like that's more of a rarity than people realize. Do you think that how, or not do you think that, how much of that do you think played into your perspective of the world around you and knowing yourself?
I think it played a lot, because every time that I drew something, my mom would literally hang it up like on the fridge or at work, and all my stuff was literally everywhere, and she just kept inspiring me to do it. And I always tell other parents, like, hey, your kid is drawing this, like, hang it up. Like, you're not going to say or do anything further, but if they see like, wow, my parent is proud of me, then they're going to keep picking up that pencil or that pen. And that's how you get better, and that's how you continue to make this a lifelong journey. Like, literally, I have a couple kids that have visited my house, and their artwork is on my fridge to this day, even though they've never come back. But it's something I say, hey, I still have your artwork up on the fridge. And that little tiny thing, like, even if they're not related to you, like, take it and ask them, can I please hang this up here? And then like maybe send a picture every once in a while to that parent and say, please show this to your child, and I'm waiting for my next piece.
Yeah, but you tried. But like, you did it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, doing it for the reasons that it serves you. But maintaining and having the skill and pursuing it gives back to your community. It gives back to you as a person. It builds the world around you. It helps heal. It's just, there's so many wonderful things. Well, as we approach the hour incoming, and with all that you have to offer as far as learning materials and resources for life, could you share any books or recommendations on tangible levels that the audience could potentially utilize in their own life for betterment? I think for both, like you've just shared about your own, like your discipline as a person, and then utilizing that as a Marine and like so forth, and then with artistry, your connection to emotional reflection in childhood. So like just whatever you would say could help someone going through their own unique experience.
I've always been inspired by picture books from like Salvador Dali and Norman Rockwell. I just love like sitting there and staring at them, and then I feel like that gets my creative juices going, not necessarily like a reading book.
So stepping into the creative element of self for you would be looking at a visual, like of art that helps you connect to what type of sense of self.
Yeah, I love those two. Those two artists are my favorite. Absolutely. It's just like I would love to have like a bunch of like their pictures like in view around my house. It's just there.
So the visual, okay. So, and with that, music too. So you like the maximalism type of visual for getting excited to create.
There's one.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, there's like my grandma, my grandpa at the ranch, they had the Salvador Dali painting of Jesus Christ on the cross, like looking from his head down to his feet, like from like over his shoulders, and I just love that picture, and it was huge. It was just so inspiring, and like I'm gonna get that like matted and framed up on my wall too.
Would you say that your own personal spiritual perspective influences your creative choices? You don't have to go into detail about your personal spiritual beliefs, but
no, not at all. It's just I just see it, and I'm just like so inspired by that.
So it just happened to be an element that was visually around you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Nothing really like no religion or spiritual, nothing like that.
That's really cool. I love that.
And lately I read I listened to the Glucose Goddess on podcast and started changing my life, and I lost 10% of my body weight from June to September, and my A1C went down from 6.1 to 5.6. And NutriSense actually published my story, so I could send you that link too. But I'm kind of a little bit famous now.
Oh, she's a little bit famous. I love it. That's so exciting. You are.
Yeah, and there's like pictures too. Yeah, I'll send it to you.
I'm so tell me how.
Yeah, because like health is wealth. You know, you don't have wealth without health. And how are you going to draw pictures and create art if you're not doing what you need to do to be healthy, spiritually, mentally, physically? And just somebody having one person in their life, like even just growing up, just that one person can make or break you. Like a mentor, it could be an aunt or an uncle, or just like your friend's mom or whatever. Like have that somebody, and you should be that somebody. Not you, but like you should strive to be that somebody. Like you're always welcome to come over. I always have snacks for you. You know, you can always spend the night or whatever. You need me to come pick you up. Like it's the same with yeah, even at 2 a.m. when they were already asleep and you're waking them up. Like, okay, wake me up, let's go. Like, let's get some snacks and chat about it, whatever. But I don't think of that as a spiritual thing necessarily. It's just like a all for one kind of thing. You just make people feel at ease, and then that's when the creative juices can come out, and then they feel safe putting out whatever they want, because there's always something for somebody out there.
For winding down and preparing to sign off, is there a way or any particular way that you would like to ask the audience to engage with you on the social medias, or for reaching out? I know we said on Facebook it was, could you tell me once more?
Angela Cronan Portrait Art. And Cronan is Cronan.
Very good. Thank you so much. And that's fabulous. Well, thank you so much, Angela. And is there anything you'd like to add before signing off with anyone? Any recommendations, any words of encouragement or personal self-reflections you'd like to share?
No, my grandpa used to say, keep the faith. So keep the faith. Believe in yourself. Get your safe space and get your favorite space going with your favorite lighting and your favorite music. And don't be, judging yourself too harshly, and enjoy the journey.
Enjoy the journey, everyone, and keep the faith with us here at Ring Ring Hello, where no matter your background, you're not alone in a post-COVID world.
Join us for discussions about parenthood, approaching your 40s, building a business, and more. Will you be calling?